All guests on Keel heard via the Jack Spring Electric Keel Newsmaker hotline. The latest of those is Louisiana State Treasurer John Schroder. Hey, Mr. John, welcome back to Keel. Thank you for joining us. How you doing?
Hey, good morning.
I would be willing to bet that over the past few days, you're getting lots of calls from lots of heads of lots of different departments, and they're kind of going, "How are we looking?" I'm not too wrong there, am I?
No, and look, it is what it is, and that's what I tell people. We're just going to have to deal with the issues at hand, and when you take a month out of your income at any level, whether you're serving burgers at Burger King or biggest business in Louisiana, if you take a month out of your income, it's gonna hurt in several different places. So, look, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is get through this crisis the best way we can. Do what we have to do, and we'll deal with the money on the back end. That's all we can do.
When theoretically, let's say that I'm the head of the Louisiana State Department of Redundancy Department, and I call you and I say to you, how short am I going to be this month? And you tell me, do you help the different departments redo their books? Are you doing a little, I don't want to say creative accounting because that has a bad sort of connotation, but I think you know what I mean. Are you assisting all these different department heads across the state government to sort of do the best they can with what we're going to have?
What we're doing is making sure that, look, we're towards the end of our fiscal year. So we have the money to finish the year. We don't know what it's going to cost the state right now. What I'm doing is make sure that we have the money, that we do it legally, in the places where we need to so the governor and his team can react to the needs of the state. That's what we've done as recent. What I've told the people who call me, that we will get through the rest of this fiscal year. Where you're going to see a problem is when we create a budget for next year and not have, because look, you guys have heard me say this. Government spends every dime it has. We don't do a very good job at saving for a rainy day, saving for emergency. You know, when we have an emergency, we rely on the federal government to reimburse us for our expenses. And that's the tone that I hear today, or that I have heard, that, you know, the feds will reimburse us, keep track of your expenses, blah, 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 blah. My fear is, as this crisis grows nationally, there's not going to be a big enough checkbook. And I don't know if it's all going to be a timing thing about who's in the chute first and who gets reimbursed first. So I don't want to say lucky for Louisiana that we're sort of out in front, and I don't mean from getting through it, but we have been hit pretty hard quickly. And so maybe we get reimbursed quicker from the feds only because we're in the line first. But what I'm worried about is that the crisis gets so big that the feds can't reimburse everybody dollar for dollar. What I've told my department leaders and others around the state, you better make plans for spending money that comes out of your budget without expecting to be reimbursed. That is what's going to cause problems later on next year.
If memory serves, we had $100 million or so surplus from last year. Is that going to help at all, or is that just long gone?
Well, you know, I told some of the leaders we need to think about that. No, it's not long gone, but we need to make sure that there's not ways that, and look, these discussions still have to take place. So it's not like we've sat around a room and had this discussion already. But I did bring that up, that we need to make sure that we use our surpluses wisely, in that it could possibly offset some other expenses that then we can use in this crisis. And that's all conversations that need to be had.
State Treasurer John Schroder, let me ask you, we know closing the casinos will hit the state. It's 22 million for 2 weeks. It looks like it's going to go to 4 weeks, so 44 million. Just that industry alone. The ripple effect from restaurants and from other businesses that are closing and from people that are going to be unemployed. How big could that number be in terms of the impact on our budget? Are we talking a couple of $100 million?
Yeah, I mean, when you figure in, now we're talking about billions of dollars that the state spends in its state general fund. You know, somewhere probably around 10.5, 11 billion a year. Just divide that by 12. Now, this isn't exact. I'm just trying to give you a simple way to sort of look at it. You divide that by 12 and take out a month, and you could really argue that that's how much you're going to lose.
Nearly $1 billion.
Yeah, we're talking about shutting down an economy, basically, because it has huge ripple effects. And every business is going to be affected by this. You know, my wife and I in the real estate business, we have a lot of rental properties. Well, we rent to restaurants and bars. We rent to nail salons, and you know, so they can't see their clients. They can't pay their rent. We can't pay our employees. I mean, it's a huge ripple effect. But look, as I told some people yesterday, we really can't concern ourselves right now. We need to buckle down and get through this and make sure that we can do the things that we can do to lessen the impact of this virus. Or this thing's going to go from a month to 2 months to 3 months, and we have to make sure that we don't do that. So I'm not. It's not time yet to worry about tomorrow, because we may not get to tomorrow. We have to deal with this virus, and we'll have to deal with the finances that come. And look, there's not a lot of people having these kind of, but it's my job to think about these kind of things. It could be, it's somebody's going to get told no next year, that it's going to have big effects. And nobody likes to be told no in state government. But this money's going to come out of somebody's pocket, because it's not like we're walking around with $500 million of extra money. So hopefully, I'm going to hope for the best, that the feds do figure out a way to handle reimbursement of expenses. We did authorize a pretty good chunk of money for the governor to be prepared to do what he has to do to protect the citizens of Louisiana. And we talking about hundreds of millions, not millions.